Have you ever wondered if a single person could change the world, not through conquest, but through a profound change of heart? Today we journey back more than 2,000 years to ancient India to uncover the story of a man whose name was once synonymous with terror, but would later be remembered as a beacon of peace. This is the incredible story of Emperor Ashoka the Great. In the 3rd century BCE, the vast Mauryan Empire dominated the Indian subcontinent. At its helm was Chandragupta Maurya, a legendary figure who founded the dynasty. His son, Binjasara, continued his legacy, but it was Binjasara's son, Ashoka, who was destined to leave an indelible mark on history. From a young age, Ashoka was a force to be reckoned with. Ambitious, skilled in warfare, and possessing a fierce intellect, he was a natural leader. However, he wasn't the crown prince. Legend has it that after his father's death, a brutal war of succession erupted among the brothers. Ashoka, with his military prowess and ruthless determination, emerged victorious, securing the throne for himself. His early reign was marked by a relentless drive to expand the empire, earning him the moniker Chandashoka, Ashoka, the Fierce. He was a conqueror, and his gaze soon fell upon a prosperous, unconquered kingdom on the eastern coast. Kalinga was a rich and independent state, thriving on trade and its strong military. It was the only major kingdom that stood outside the Mauryan dominion, a final piece of the puzzle for an emperor obsessed with complete control. For Ashoka, the conquest of Kalinga was a matter of imperial pride and strategic necessity. He amassed a colossal army, one of the largest ever seen in the ancient world, and marched towards Kalinga expecting a swift and decisive victory. But the people of Kalinga would not yield so easily. They valued their freedom above all else and mounted a fierce, desperate resistance. What followed was not a simple battle, but a war of horrifying brutality. The fields of Kalinga turned into a sea of blood. The war was catastrophic. Ancient texts describe a scene of unimaginable horror. It's said that over 100,000 soldiers were killed in the fighting, and countless civilians perished from the ensuing famine and disease. The Daya River, which flowed through the battlefield, was said to have run red with blood. When the dust finally settled, Kalinga was conquered. Ashoka had won. He had achieved his goal of unifying the subcontinent under his rule. But at what cost? As Emperor Ashoka rode through the ravaged capital of Kalinga, he was not met with cheers of victory. Instead, he was confronted by a haunting silence, broken only by the wails of widows and orphans. He saw burned-out villages, devastated families, and the lifeless bodies of soldiers and citizens alike, strewn across the land. The scale of the death and destruction he had unleashed was overwhelming. This was the turning point. Staring into the abyss of his own creation, the victorious emperor was struck by a profound and shattering sense of remorse. The glory of his conquest felt hollow, tainted by the immense suffering he had caused. The man known as Ashoka the Fierce was broken. Was this what it meant to be a great ruler? To build an empire on a mountain of corpses? The guilt was a heavy burden, and it set him on a new, unexpected path. In his search for answers and atonement, Ashoka began to explore different philosophies. He was drawn to the teachings of Buddhism, which spoke of non-violence, compassion, and moral responsibility. He met with Buddhist monks, studied their scriptures, and found solace in their message of peace and enlightenment. This encounter with Buddhism didn't just offer personal comfort, it ignited a radical transformation. Ashoka renounced the path of violent conquest, a policy known as Digvijaya or conquest by force. He embraced a new philosophy, Dharmavijaya, conquest by righteousness and morality. This wasn't just a private change of heart, it became the new policy of the entire empire. The fearsome emperor who once waged bloody wars now dedicated his life and his empire's vast resources to promoting peace, ethics, and social welfare. He issued a series of edicts which were carved onto pillars and rocks throughout his empire for all his subjects to see. These weren't just laws, they were moral guidelines, a public declaration of his newfound principles. These edicts of Ashoka are historical marvels. They speak of his regret over the Kalinga War and his commitment to Dhamma, a moral code of conduct. He urged his people to be kind to one another, to respect their elders, to be generous to the poor, and to show tolerance for all religions. He banned animal sacrifices and promoted vegetarianism, reflecting his deep commitment to non-violence towards all living beings. Ashoka became a patron of the people. He funded the construction of hospitals for both humans and animals. He had wells dug and rest houses built along major roads to aid travelers. He planted fruit-bearing trees to provide shade and food. He sent envoys, not of war, but of peace and goodwill to other kingdoms, spreading the teachings of Buddhism far beyond the borders of India, to places like Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, and even the Middle East. Ashoka's transformation from a ruthless conqueror to a compassionate ruler is one of the most remarkable personal journeys in human history. He traded his sword for a philosophy of peace and used his immense power not to dominate, but to uplift. He showed the world that true greatness lies not in the size of one's territory, but in the depth of one's compassion. His legacy is not just in the empire he ruled, but in the ideals he championed. He proved that redemption is possible, that even after causing immense harm, a person can change and dedicate their life to healing and peace. Ashoka's story reminds us that power can corrupt, but it can also be a profound force for good. It's a timeless lesson that a change of heart can, quite literally, change the course of history. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from history. Let me know in the comments what you think about Ashoka's incredible transformation. Until next time, stay curious.